So hi there, I'm Dave Litton and welcome to my very short earned value excerpt from my PMP primer. I want you to imagine that you've got someone to cut your backyard grass and you've got a budget of $10, which is handy because they say they can do it. So all is well. 30 minutes later you check out how they're doing and find they've finished 50% of it. Well, so far then, how much have they earned? Well, they've earned 50% of the $10, which is $5 of course. Suppose, however, you came and saw how they're doing 30 minutes into the 1 hour and you found this situation where they've cut about a third of it, well, in which case all they've earned is a third of $10, around $3. And if you wanted to predict how long they're going to take, it's clearly going to take longer than an hour because they haven't done much work and they're halfway through the hour. Plus, of course, it's likely that they're going to charge you much more. So in other words, you're pretty sure it's going to be late and over budget. How about this scenario, where 30 minutes into it they seem to have cut well over 2/3 of it? How much will they have earned? Well, 2/3, of course, of $10. Let's say $7. And what would your prediction be here? Well, since it's taken them 30 minutes to get this far, they'll probably finish it in another 10 minutes. So they'll come in early, and of course, since they're charging $10 an hour, it'll cost you less. So in this case, you could predict it's going to be finished early and cost you less than $8. Fine and dandy, that's the principles here of earned value. What you might be familiar with your project, however, is a Gantt chart. These are tasks showing so many weeks in duration, and we've assigned people to them. The first task, task A, has got 4 people working full-time over a 4-week period. If you looked at cumulatively, at the end of the first week, they were planned to have carried out 4-person weeks of effort. By the end of the week after that, 8-person weeks worth of effort, and so on and so forth. What you would have as a histogram is something like this. This is 4-person weeks, this is another 4-person weeks, giving you 8-person weeks, and so on and so forth. If we now assume they charge us so many $100 for a week, then we could convert that to a cumulative cost graph, often called a spend plan. The right name for it is a cumulative S-curve. It's this which we can use for earned value. Now, in the PMP exam, there are 13 key formulas to memorize. But here's your first problem. You're probably familiar with having a planned cost and then finding out how much it's actually cost. The difference between these two would suggest one of two things. Either the fact that you're going to be underspending because it's not costing you as much as you'd originally planned, or is it behind schedule? For example, it's cost less because they haven't done as much work, so you're going to finish late. And the problem is that's ambiguous, which is why you need an extra element called earned value. And this would look something like this. Here's your planned cost, here's your actual cost, here's your earned value. The secret of using earned value is to use earned value as your frame of reference. Start with what you've got and then look at the other 2 metrics, planned cost and actual cost, in relationship to earned value to determine what the future looks like. A simple formula, if you remember the backyard grass example, earned value is percentage complete times budget. 50% complete, budget is $10, they've earned $5. And if you turn that formula around, you can get percentage complete equals earned value divided by budget. Another formula for you to remember, but it's not hard to understand, I'm sure. Now let's take this a bit further. Always start with what you've got. Let's expand this and look in a bit more detail. Here's our frame of reference again, starting with earned value. What we know from this is the cost variance is the difference between earned value and the actual cost, whereas the schedule variance is the difference between earned value and the planned costs. Both must be done relative to earned value. Now remember, this is on a graph showing, in this case, dollars. So the dollar value of this is less than the planned cost and is less than the actual cost. So we can immediately determine, because planned cost is higher, that we're going to come in behind schedule, and because actual cost is higher than earned value, we're going to overspend. And that's pretty much the secret. Not so hard, is it? Now, so we've got 2 variances. Positive variances are good because the difference between earned value and planned cost or actual cost will mean that you're either underspending or you're ahead of schedule, and negative variances are bad, which means you're overspending and behind schedule. However, imagine the difference between planned cost and earned value as $100. What exactly does $100 behind schedule actually mean? I know what $100 overspent means, but not in terms of schedule. So we'll need to take this the next step. Before we do, let's look at a few simple examples of this. Starting with top left, here you can see earned value, like before, is less than actual cost and planned cost, showing and predicting that your project's going to come in late and overspent. Here in the top right, earned value is higher than planned cost and actual cost, showing you're going to come in early and your project's going to underspend. Bottom left, here earned value is between the two. Actual cost is higher, so you're predicting you're going to overspend, but planned cost is a lower value than earned value, so you're going to come in ahead of schedule. And finally, another example, earned value is in the middle, planned cost is higher. That means you're going to come in late because the planned cost gives you schedule information, and actual cost is less than earned value, so you're underspent. So let's look at some important indices and variances. Don't worry, they're very straightforward, and here's a little mental trick. They always start with earned value. Now, performance indices comes in two flavors. Cost Performance Index, CPI. You need to remember this. Remember it simply, it's earned value divided by actual cost. Use the C in CPI to remind you it's earned value divided by actual cost. Whereas Schedule Performance Index, SPI, that's earned value divided by the planned value. Now the variances are the difference numerically between these cost values. Now this will help you. Always start with earned value in both cases, and you subtract, in the case of cost variance, actual cost. Can you see how this works together? Cost always talks about actual cost. CV is earned value minus actual cost. SV, schedule, is earned value minus planned value. So far so good, but we're still dealing with monetary values. How can we predict the future? Well, we use indices. So Cost Performance Index is earned value divided by actual cost, as we've just learnt in the previous slide. Schedule Performance Index is earned value divided by planned value. It so happens that CPI calculates efficiency, which is doing something with the least possible expenditure, whereas Schedule Performance calculates how effective you've been, which is doing it well no matter what it takes. Ratios greater than 1 are good, as we shall see. So the final cost, and here's how you predict, is your budgeted cost divided by your Cost Performance Index. If you need now to predict your end date of your project, the final project duration will be the planned project duration divided by SPI. Let's now show you a real worked example, and this is typical of a PMP exam question. A project has a budget of $1.5 million, this is called budget at completion, and has a planned duration of 20 months. After 8 months, the reported earned value figures are these. 8 months in, you'd planned to have spent $720,000, your actual costs are $600,000, and your earned value is $680,000. Calculate the indices and variances, including the final planned duration, the final cost, and the percentage complete. We simply plug the numbers in. It's really that straightforward. Using these numbers up here, Cost Performance Index, earned value divided by actual costs, gives you a ratio of 1.13. Because this is greater than 1, this should immediately tell you that you're going to underspend. The cost variance, the difference between the two, gives you a positive number, plus 80. Again, this suggests that you're going to underspend. When it comes to schedule index, earned value divided by planned cost, again, just plug in these numbers in up here, we get 0.94. That suggests we're going to come in late. When we look at the schedule variance, sure enough, it's a negative number, corroborating that fact. But let's be very precise and find out exactly what those numbers are. So your final cost is budget at completion, that's your original budget of 1.5 million, divided by the Cost Performance Index. Plug the number in and you'll find it's 1.32 million. Now the budget was 1.5, so you're going to come in under budget. When it comes to your planned duration, again it's the planned duration divided by SPI, the schedule, and this gives you 21.27 months. So since the planned duration was 20 months, you're going to come in something like 5 or 6 weeks late. The percentage complete is simply earned value divided by your original budget times 100 because it's expressed as a percentage, and this shows you that you're 45.3% complete. In summary, a CPI greater than 1 or a positive CV indicates the project will come in under budget. The final cost shows an underspend of $180,000, which supports that figure. Whereas a SPI less than 1 or a negative SV indicates the project will come in late. And sure enough, we can prove here that it's going to come in some 5 to 6 weeks later than originally agreed. And that, my friends, is how you do earned value in less than 10 minutes flat. Thanks so much for listening. If you want to find out how to pass the PMP exam on your first attempt, check out the amazing price on www.pm-primer.com. So thank you for the pleasure of your company. I hope to see you again, so it's goodbye from me, Dave Litton.